Hey y'all, what's good, what's poppin'? So for today's video, I wanted to sit down and try something different. I just want to sit down and play with some makeup. So recently, I've been watching a lot of those videos where people do like half a face of one type of makeup, half a face of another type of makeup. I've seen half American, half French type makeup videos. I've seen like half American, half Arabian makeup, things like that. So for today's video, I was just kind of inspired to play around a little bit. I want to sit down and film a video doing half a face of, I guess, like higher end luxury type makeup and a half face of drugstore makeup, and just see, you know, if drugstore makeup is comparable to high-end makeup, if it gives a similar result, what we got going on there. So I just thought I would sit down and play with my makeup and just show y'all what you can achieve look-wise using luxury makeup versus just plain old drugstore makeup, you know, whatever you have. But before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to all my new subscribers out there. Thank you for clicking that subscribe button and for being here. If you haven't already, just go ahead and click that subscribe button, and as well go ahead and click the bell button so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. So with that being said, let's get into this video. So before anything, I gotta go ahead and prime my face. So before anything, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. My two primers I have right here. So I think for this half of my face, I'm gonna do the high end, and on this side of the face, I'm gonna be doing the drugstore equivalent. So for this side of my face, I'm gonna be using this Tatcha silk canvas. This is supposed to just give you like a nice base for your makeup. It's supposed to give you like a blurred skin effect. It has squalane in it as well as silk extract, which is supposed to give you just kind of like a nice silky base for your makeup to apply to. Give you a nice smooth base, smooth pores, all of that. And then for the drugstore equivalent, I have this e.l.f. poreless putty primer. So it's another putty primer. A lot of people have said that it's a dupe for this Tatcha silk canvas. They have some similar things going on. They both got the whole putty primer situation going on. They both contain squalane. This one I feel like is a little bit better for combination dry skin. I feel like the silk canvas is just a little bit better for skin that leans more like combination oily versus combination dry. I feel like this does a better job of giving you a little bit of the moisturized base, giving you like that tacky feel for makeup to stick to, but they are both pretty comparable. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply them as my base, my primer. I'm just gonna go ahead and apply this primer where I would. So personally, I would focus kind of right in here in the cheek area because that is where I tend to get the most oil if I do have any issues with that throughout the day. And then in addition, also put some on my forehead and as well as my nose and my chin area. So we got this side of the face primed, this side's not, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the silk canvas and just go ahead and prime this side. So right off the bat applying this, the Tatcha silk canvas is a lot silkier. It feels a lot more moisturizing. It slides on a lot easier than the e.l.f. putty primer, and all around I just feel like it's a better primer personally for my skin type, but they both perform a pretty similar job. So now it's time to go ahead and apply foundation. So for foundation, I have two different foundations here. For the luxury foundation, I'm going to be using my Estée Lauder Double Wear, and this one is in the shade 3W1 Tawny. This was my exact shade when I went ahead and picked it up in store. And then for my drugstore equivalent, I'm going to be using two actually. So I have right here my NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop Full Coverage Foundation. I have two shades here. I have the shade that I want to be, and I have the shade that I was when I picked it up. I think I'm a little bit in the middle now, and the Estée Lauder foundation, I don't know if y'all can tell on camera, does sit somewhere in the middle between these two. So I'm going to go ahead and take one pump each of this foundation and mix it together and see if it comes out looking like anything like this. These are both full coverage long wear foundations. They both have a matte finish, so hopefully they'll look similar as well when they're applied to the skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start with the NYX foundation. I'm actually gonna take half a pump of each because we're only doing half a face, so I don't want to bombard my face with product. So I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, take half a pump of each on the back of my hand and mix them together and then buff them in with a brush. Alright, so that's what the NYX foundation is looking like. I'm gonna go ahead and take this Eco Tools complexion buffer brush and blend them together in the back of my hand, and then once that's all blended, I'm gonna go ahead and just take some and stipple it on this side of my face. I see that by stippling it on with a brush, I get a more full coverage effect than I would if I blend it in with a beauty sponge. If it does look a little cakey, I will go ahead and buff it out, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to stick to the brush because I'm gonna go for that full coverage effect, and I wanna go for like a sort of glam look. So I'm just really gonna take my time buffing this out and making sure it's evenly distributed, making sure it's not caking up in any areas, and making sure my whole skin is covered. Alright, so that's sufficiently buffed in. As you can see, it leaves a really beautiful finish on the skin, and this side of my skin is completely evened out. Everything is pretty much covered up. I can't see anything peeking through. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same on this side with my Estée Lauder. And then the Estée Lauder foundation doesn't have a pump unlike the NYX, so I'm gonna take about the same amount, just dumped it on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna go ahead and take the same brush that I was using for the NYX foundation. I'm gonna go ahead and pick some up and go ahead and buff that in. I don't know if you can tell, but I didn't color match perfectly. The Estée Lauder is looking just a little bit lighter, but nothing too crazy. We can work with it. The Estée Lauder finishes a little bit more satiny, has a little bit more moisture upon initial application. I forget how it finishes though. Maybe it'll finish just as matte or even a little matter, we'll see. So that's what the foundation looks like, buffed in pretty evenly on both sides. As you can see, my face is looking pretty even right now. I look pretty washed out. I'm just looking like 2 eyebrows and a beard right now, but everything is nice and flawless. Both of these foundations have a nice full coverage finish. They both claim to have a matte finish, but I find that both of them kind of finish down to more of like a satiny finish, although that might just be my skin underneath. It might just be, you know, that peeking through a little bit and giving me some radiance. So now I guess it's time to go in with concealer because that's what everyone does on Instagram. So I got my 2 concealers here. So for my high-end concealer, I got my Tarte Double Duty Beauty Shape Tape, and I have this in the shade Medium Sand. And then for my drugstore, I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. 16-Hour Wear Camo Concealer, and this one is in the shade Medium Beige. So first I'm gonna go ahead and just apply concealer where, you know, people normally apply it. So it's right to my under eye. And then I'm gonna just take a little bit down the bridge of the nose as well, up in the forehead. Once I have this side nice and applied, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with my Shape Tape. Alright, so here's the Shape Tape applied with the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. I'm looking here in the viewfinder. I don't know if y'all can see it on camera. Again, these aren't a perfect shade match, and now that I'm looking at it, actually the e.l.f. concealer did oxidize a little bit, so it is looking a little darker, a little warmer tone. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my Real Techniques, I don't even know if this is Real Techniques. I'm just gonna take this blending sponge I got forever ago at Walmart. I don't know what the brand is, and I'm gonna go ahead and buff that in. So I'm taking a clean side for the Shape Tape. So there's Shape Tape nice and buffed in. I'm gonna take a different clean side and go ahead and buff in the e.l.f. side now. So that's what my face looks like with my base on now. We got on primer, we got on foundation, and now we got concealer as well. We're looking sufficiently washed out. Now we gotta go ahead and set everything. For the drugstore side, I'm gonna go ahead and set my face with this e.l.f. HD powder. This is the one in the shade Translucent, so this is just the white powder just to kind of set your whole face. Now for the higher end side, this actually isn't a full-size product, and by the way, I will also put the price of all the products I'm using as well as, you know, the final price of the total, how much this side of my face is worth versus how much this is worth in the video. I meant to be doing that throughout the video, but you know, I just got way too into it. We were way too excited, so it's just a little too late for that now. So then for the high-end side of my face, I'm gonna take this sample I picked up. It's this Bareminerals Original Foundation. So this is a powder foundation. I've seen a lot of reviews saying though that this actually works better as a setting powder than as a foundation, and this has 3 shades in this. So this came with the shades Fairly Light, Medium Beige, and Tan Nude. Because it is a sample size and I do only have 3 here, I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of all 3 to set everything. Alright, first let me make sure that I don't have any creasing going on before I even set anything, because that would be tragic. Alright, so before anything, I'm gonna go ahead and set the under eyes because that tends to be my problem area. So I'm gonna take the shade Medium Beige on this Eco Tool setting brush because it has a nice fine tip like that and it has a nice angle to really get in there in the under eye area and really set everything. So I'm gonna use that as my setting powder for the under eye area. I'm gonna go ahead and dust that off as best as I can, and then do the same thing with the e.l.f. HD powder for the drugstore side and just set the under eyes with a little bit of that. Okay, so now that my under eye area is set and I'm not gonna have any creases, I'm gonna go ahead and just do the same thing with a bigger brush for my whole face. So I'm gonna take another Real Techniques brush, and this is just their powder brush, so it's meant to powder the whole face. I'm gonna go ahead and just take that, kind of do like a little one of these things, just swirl a little bit of all 3 of the powder foundations here from Bareminerals. Got a nice little healthy smattering of that on the brush. Go ahead and just dust off the excess, and then just kind of stipple the remaining powder on the rest of my face to just go ahead and set everything. I don't want to do too much rubbing in the product, kind of swirling it around on my face because I don't want to disturb the foundation underneath. So I'm really just setting it on top and letting the powder do the work to set everything, and then gonna clean off the brush as best as I can. And again, doesn't look like it, but I brushed off most of the foundation. Just gonna go ahead and take some of the e.l.f. powder and do the same thing on the drugstore side. So we have our complete base on, we have primer, foundation, concealer, and then we've gone ahead and set everything with powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and bronze and contour actually first. So for my bronze, contour, and actually for my blush as well, I'm gonna be taking this Smashbox Cali contour kit. As you can see here, we got some nice shades to work with. We got a nice cool tone contour shade right here. We got a nice warm tone bronzing shade over here. And then we got a nice blush shade right here. So I'm gonna use that for the face. For the Drugstore Side, for my blush bronzer combo, I'm gonna be using this Morphe brontour, and this is in the shade Celebutant. So this is just like a nice shade for light to medium skin tones with like a golden warm undertone, which is kind of what I have. And then for the blush, I'm gonna be using this Milani baked blush, and this is in the shade Luminoso. And just get some of the contour powder from the Cali contour and just apply that. So I'm going for a nice soft contour today, nothing too crazy. Just want to kind of sculpt out the cheek. And then for the Drugstore Side, I'm going to go ahead and go with my Celebutant. Now, as you guys can see, we have the contour bronzer right next to one another. There's no real way to separate them, so I like to do just like a little swirl like that. Again, taking that same Real Techniques brush and do the same technique. Personally, I find with products like these, I like to stipple them on and gently buff them out rather than kind of just roughly apply them onto the skin like I see some people doing. If you have the hand for it, go for it, but personally I find that it's a lot easier to just control how much product you apply this way and to get the look that you're going for a lot easier. Whereas when I swipe the product on, I find that I can disrupt the foundation underneath, and as well, it's just a lot easier to get the same effect that I'm looking for. Now as you can see, because the bronzer and the contour are 2-in-1 in this product, this side is looking a little bit more warm than this side, so I'm gonna go ahead and also do some of that on the forehead, because for this side I think I'm gonna just stick to a straight bronzer for the forehead, but for the Drugstore Side I don't really have a choice. So again, just stippling it on and then buffing it out after. And then taking this Smashbox Cali contour kit, I'm gonna go ahead and this time taking the bronzing shade and doing the same thing, just adding a little bit to the forehead to give me some warmth. And like I said, because there is a different undertone going on here, because this was a contour bronzer in one, but this was just straight contour, I'm gonna take just whatever's left on the brush here and just kind of buff that into the contour, just to add a little bit of warmth to this side as well to even everything out. And then it's time for blush. I'm gonna take a Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. I'm gonna go ahead and dip into the blush shade in the contour palette as well. And I'm really just gonna focus this on the apples of the cheeks. And I find for me personally, it's really easy to go too heavy with blush. So I'm just gonna stipple it up to the level I want and then brush off the excess and then just kind of blend that up and out. I find that just adding a touch of blush just gives you that like luminosity, that lift from within, makes you look a little bit more alive, a little bit less dead, a little bit less made up. When you just have straight contour on your face, which is a look, don't get me wrong, and like it's a look that I also, you know, rock a lot. It can also make you look kind of dead though, especially when you use a lot of cool tones and don't even it out with a bronzer, which, you know, I did, but not everyone does, and you don't have to do. So this is a nice way to just add a little bit of color back to your face, bring some life back in. Again, going in with Luminoso on the Drugstore Side and just working that in. I find with this that it's not as pigmented as the one with the Cali contour kit, not in a bad way. It's like in a way that I don't need to, you know, stipple on what I want and then get rid of the excess and then blend it out. It's the nice perfect pigmentation on the first round. Now I'm gonna go in with highlighter. So for my highlighter for the high-end side, I'm gonna be using this Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector, and this is in the shade Opal. And then for the Drugstore Side, I'm gonna be using my Colourpop Super Shock Cheek Pearlized Highlighter, and this is in the shade Smokes and Whistles. So I'm gonna go ahead and just apply this with a finger. I'm gonna go ahead and take a clean finger and apply the Colourpop one first. This feels like really silky, creamy. It has a lot of give when I dig my finger into the pan, and then when I apply it to the skin, it just has like a nice payoff. And I like applying with a finger as opposed to a brush. Using a finger, I find, actually gives like a nice precise highlight. And then taking a different finger, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same technique for my Becca highlighter. So there's one layer. Let's go ahead and build up to 2 layers like I did with the Colourpop. Alright, and as you can see, both are blinding, both are very nice and skin-like. Both are very silky. They don't look chunky. They don't look like I have any powders on the face. They blend in very smoothly with the skin. I think I'm going to take the Becca one and run that one down at the center of my nose, because I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and do 2 on there. But I do like the Becca one a little more, so I'm just going to use her to highlight the nose. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my nose and I realized I didn't even contour my nose, but I feel like I don't need it, so I'm not even going to bother and go back. And again, I'm just going to build this up 2 layers. So that is what 2 layers is looking like. We brought some glow back to skin, so everything was nice and set, but it was also mattified. So went ahead and brought some definition and glow back in with the highlighter. Everything is looking beautiful. Now I think I can go ahead and do my brows. So let me go ahead and find my brow pencils. Yo, how can I not find this? Okay, I was gonna say, this is literally my most unique looking eyebrow pencil. So got 2 brow pencils here. I got my trusty Benefit Precisely My Brow in the shade 5, and then my e.l.f. Ultra Precise brow pencil, and this is in the shade Neutral Brown. This is the one I've been feeling a lot recently. I feel like this gives me a nice soft natural hair like stroke effect. This one does a good job as well, but it's slightly darker than this one, so this is just slightly like a little bit less natural looking than this one. This one does a good job of just filling in the sparse areas and areas where I have missing hairs and just making my brows look fuller. This one definitely gives me more of like a defined, definitely like a drawn on look, not in a crazy way if I had used even a darker shade, but more so than the e.l.f. one does, definitely because it is a darker shade. And you know, I would recommend when you pick up an eyebrow pencil, especially if you do want that more natural brow look, that you actually pick up a shade lighter than you think you'll need, because believe me, there is such a thing as having too much brow, okay? Despite what Instagram and social media will tell you, there is such a thing as having too much brow. There's a fine line between having Instagram brows and looking like one of the cavemen in those old Geico commercials, okay? So even though the rest of my makeup was a little crazy, I'm gonna go for that natural brow effect with the pencil today. And then once I got it looking how I like, I'm just gonna go ahead and comb everything through with the spoolie side. And as you can see, she's on fleek, finna get crunk, ready for the club. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with my Benefit Precisely My Brow. And that's the brows. I did have a drugstore brow gel to set them, but I can't find it right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and set both of them with this sample size Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel. My apologies. And once those are set, I'm gonna go ahead and take some more of the highlighter I was using earlier for my cheek and just pop some on the brow bone under each eye just to make that pop a little bit. Okay, so that's my face like mostly done, I guess. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and do a simple eye look and hopefully not kill everything. I'm not really gonna explain what I'm doing here. So I'm just using the Wet n Wild Nude Awakening palette for both my eyes. I'm not using a high end versus a low end because I just haven't, you know, played with eye makeup enough like that where I'm at a point where I could be like high end versus low end. I just don't have that stuff in my collection, unfortunately. But I do have one eyeshadow palette, so I will play around with this a little bit and show you guys what it does. Alright, so I'm back. I did my eyes real quick. It might look decent on camera, but I'm not really feeling this eye look, I'm not gonna lie. I went ahead and hit the whole lid with this white sort of base shade right here. I went ahead and hit above the crease with this lighter transition shade. I hit the outer corner with this darker transition shade as like a contour to add some definition, and then I went ahead and used this sort of champagne-y shimmery shadow, which I don't know if you can see it on camera, but that is like a shimmery champagne-y shadow, and I just popped that on the inner corner to kind of highlight everything and bring it together, and that's just what that looks like. Nice and thrown together. 5 minutes. Went ahead and applied that with my finger and then blended it out with a brush. Came out okay. So that was the shadow. Then for eyeliner, I went ahead and just used this e.l.f. eyeliner, gel liner, whatever. I don't even know the name, it's not on here. And then went ahead and curled my lashes with my trusty e.l.f. eyelash curler. And then for mascara, I used my Caution Extreme Lash Mascara, you know, the huge. So that's what we got going on for the eyes. Nothing special. Again, you know, I didn't do the whole one eyeshadow palette, one eye, the other eyeshadow palette like I was doing for the whole face. I just have one palette to work with here. Again, don't hate the look, don't love it, but you know, you gotta start from somewhere. That's here apparently. And I totally forgot, you know, I was gonna end it off here, the video, but I do have 2 lip products here that I wanna go ahead and try. So I'm gonna go ahead and go for like a nice sort of nudie lip. That's a lip color that y'all know is always my favorite. I'm always looking for a Your Lip a Better color. And so I have 2 right here that I'm gonna use for that. So for the Drugstore Side, I'm gonna be using this NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream, and this is just in the shade London. And then for the higher end luxury side, I'm gonna be using this Bite Beauty Multi-Stick in the shade Nudie as my lip color. These, in my opinion, are a pretty similar shade, or at least they were when I applied them independently, but let's see what they look like side by side. So here's what the Multi-Stick looks like on this side, bare lip on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my Soft Matte Lip Cream now. Okay, and that is the lips with the Soft Matte Lip Cream applied. As you see, it's not, you know, 100% the exact same color. We got a pretty similar color going on right here, but this side is a little bit more peachy, a little bit more, I'd say that this side is meant for a little bit more of like a fairer skin tone. This definitely has a little bit more pinky going on. It's a little bit more like my lip, but better looking. Not that they both aren't, you know, a really nice natural lip color, but the NYX side especially is a much better match for my lip with the undertones going on. I feel like they both have a similar like color scheme. It's just the undertones is what's differing here between the two, if that makes any sense. And the NYX is just slightly more, you know, in line with my skin tone and what looks good on me, but they both are very nice finish. They both look really good on me. I'm gonna forgo a setting spray or anything like that for this look, because really, how do you do like half of your face with one setting spray and half of the other? I mean, like, I know how to do it, like it makes sense, like I just explained how to do it by saying that, but you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying though? No point. So I'm just gonna end the tutorial here. That's what we're looking like. So this wasn't necessarily, you know, like a full face of dupes. It wasn't me doing, you know, one side of drugstore dupes versus high-end dupes. This was just me playing with, you know, high-end versus drugstore makeup, seeing how it compares, how it wears on the skin, how it looks, this and that, and if there is a difference. And just from what I'm seeing, I mean, obviously, like I said, you know, this isn't a dupe, so not everything is going to be exact color match for the other products, but as far as, you know, color payoff, pigmentation, wear, how everything is looking on the skin, I feel like now, especially in 2019, we're at a point now where drugstore makeup is just as good as, if not just as good as, even better than high-end makeup in some ways. Drugstore brands have really stepped up to the bat and blessed us with some wonderful products in 2018, and so far going into 2019, everything that's been dropped, you know, we've been seeing a lot of really good high-end makeup and skincare products, and hopefully these, I guess, drugstore, lower-end cosmetic companies will keep that energy going forward and keep making makeup bangers, because we are here for a saved coin and, you know, getting professional results for a drugstore price. So that was the point of today's video. I just completely wanted to play around and show y'all, you know, what look you can achieve using high-end versus drugstore makeup, and to show y'all that you can achieve a similar look. It's more about the technique rather than the tools and the products that you use, and I really just wanted to sit down and demonstrate that for y'all on camera. So with that being said, I hope they all really enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you liked about this video, what you disliked, everything like that. Let me know what kind of videos y'all want me to make in the future. You want to see a certain makeup look, you want to see any type of reviews on certain products, anything like that, leave a comment below letting me know what type of video you want me to do, and I'll get around to doing it. And again, I just want to say thank you again to all my new subscribers out there, and just a reminder, if you haven't already, to go ahead and click that subscribe button, and as well click the bell button so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. And with that being said, I'll be back shortly with a new video. Bye.